DVOA. We're getting in the schematics here, folks. And
Let's go,
I still
Uppy.
think the Bucs
Uppy, you've been
secondary is
elite
good.
today. Just
Uppy,
know
best
that.
Uppy,
performance
yeah.
this season.
Uppy came
Yeah.
fucking dialed in for the playoffs. Never a
Right, so
fucking
let me
doubt.
Go fucking 1-7 and
You just
Of
need
course.
less games to handicap. That's your thing.
Yeah, you just
less
need to be
games.
dialed 100%.
Welcome in. It's Wild Card Weekend. Break from our contest. No more contest numbers. We use our numbers. Isn't this great? Won't this help everything? When you look back on the records, I think we need a lot more help than just being able to shop our lines a little bit. Just a season recap. Jack finishes it out with a win with the Jets. He went 7-10 on the season. He had a pick stolen, all that sort of stuff. That's why it doesn't add up to 18. Casey, he wins with the New England Patriots. He's 11-6 on the season. Uppy, Titans, yuck. Thank God the Titans are not in the playoffs. We probably would find an excuse to bet them. They ain't. Uppy went 11-8 in the regular season. I had the Panthers get the win there. I was 7-10-1 on the regular season. Our consensus just absolutely incredible. It was the Vikings. We are now 4-14 when we all agree on a pick. Moment of silence for the consensus. Thank you. Look, wild card weekend, fellas. We have rivalries all over the place. We go college football route. Casey's Buckeyes, Jack's Longhorns. Uppy, your Steelers, Jack and Casey's Ravens. My teams, they don't participate in the postseason anymore. So I get to just, clear mind, cap these games, get right at it. I know people don't like a long preamble, but is there anything anyone needs to say before we get right into the capping?
Shout out your ball knowledge by in the intro saying wild card weekend. NFL subtly dropped super from wild card weekend. But just a shout that the rollover has been placed. $3,311.55 on Texas money line against Ohio State. Use Pickett, found the best odds, plus 190. That's going to return about $6K. It'll be up to 10,000 on the rollover if the Longhorns take it home. So feeling good about it right now. And there's snow in Dallas, but the game will be played.
Well put. Isn't that just so elegant?
Maybe a moment for the winner of the regular season, best picker, congrats to whoever that was or something.
Absolutely. Casey, congratulations on a great regular season. I never ended up catching you, but we are playing this out through the playoffs. So what was our wagers?
$300.
$300. So, and you are up how many games on me? Casey is 11-6.
Four games.
In the win column. So I have to, I have no chance. So
I'll go first every time just so I can never copy your pick, so at least we can push if it comes down to it.
I would like to know. I'm on a heater since that, though. But you have as well. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, my pick is the Bills minus 8.5. I think people can't figure out which underdog they want to take in the playoffs, and through Twitter, and people have just decided for whatever reason that the Broncos are that pick. I haven't seen many statistical reasons or trends to back up why people are all over the Broncos. I'm seeing it's getting popular steam to take Broncos money line for whatever reason. I don't know why. Broncos, it might be Bills just rested their guys. They lost, or did they win? I don't even who they play. The Patriots. They lost.
Didn't you? You had New England.
I know. And then obviously the Broncos put up a dominant display against a Chiefs team that wasn't trying. So it could be a little recency bias. I don't know. The one thing I do know, Josh Allen is a wild card merchant. This is when he puts up all his statistical games. This is when he gets all of his wins that make his playoff record and stats look so pretty. And that's why he doesn't get framed as a bad playoff quarterback, even though he collapses every time he advances to a divisional or conference championship. So I'm going to ride the Bills. More than that, I think the Bills, their big weakness is you get the run game going, and then you could pair that with Bo hitting them over the top, whatever it may be. The Broncos, they don't run the ball as well as I would like them to keep themselves in the game. I think the Bills take an early lead. The crowd gets after a rookie quarterback. They become a little bit one-dimensional, and then it all starts to fall apart. It's going to be too much Bills from start to finish. I see this being a 3-possession game. I like the Bills here. I think Broncos, Bo Nix in the snow. On the one of, did you rank that your toughest place to play in the playoffs, Jack? Buffalo?
Philly.
Okay, second toughest place to play in the playoffs. I just think it's a real. You couldn't ask for a tougher spot as a rookie quarterback, 7 versus 2 in Buffalo, playing the MVP of the league. It's just a tough spot, and 8.5. Like, for me, the fact that it's a smaller spread than Ravens Steelers is shocking to me. Not that that's a reason to take it or whatever, but that's my pick.
We're just on so different social media algorithms because I have not seen any Broncos love on my.
It's because he's on Bills hater. He's on Bills hater,
No, I'm not. No, that's not it. That's not it. It is. They're not.
Well,
like,
if you're on Ravens, this is how it works. If you're on Ravens Twitter, then you're also on a little bit of Bills Twitter, which means you leak into. Like, you've definitely clicked on can the Broncos win this game? And then you start to read a lot about that.
That could be true.
Is the public on Buffalo, Tim?
I would assume so. I could check right now. I would assume so. Let me.
Yeah, a couple notes I do have. You made several good points. I think the best point is just the lack of running, and then rookie quarterback making his debut on the road. Since 2002, first-time playoff quarterbacks are 19-37-1 ATS. So that would speak to Nix, Daniels, and Darnold. I did see that Sean Payton 4-1 ATS in the playoffs as a dog. Great coach. But this is a very tough spot. I agree. One thing I did not like in terms of the Bills side is their secondary has been struggling, and the Broncos are going to just absolutely sling it. Since week 9, Bills rank 30th in EPA per pass, 32nd in passing success rate allowed. So definitely struggling on the back end, and that is all the Broncos want to do. Mims breaking out. I did take Mims anytime touchdown because I'm going to just do it until it doesn't hit. He's just catching like absolute bombs. So this feels like an over game to me. I think that's where I would look. I probably would take the Broncos early in the week, which I think Tim did when it was like 9.5. So this is coming down towards Buffalo, which, I think that's interesting. Obviously, sharper people are betting earlier in the week, and then you're going to get a ton of public when they see this trending down towards the Bills.
Yeah, this could be made up in just like a few instances that just have struck in my head. But I always feel like when the games start to really matter on these like teams that have like been there before and are veterans, like their defenses just like improve out of thin air. Maybe it's more preparation, more focus, or whatever it may be. But like the Bengals defense was horrendous the entire year. And then when they really started needing games, their defense starts playing well out of nowhere. And I see it in the playoffs sometimes, just like bad defenses were bad all season. And then for whatever reason, maybe it's an offense overthinking it and doing too much in the playoffs, or it's more the defense just turning it on. But I just feel like this Bills defense, for whatever reason, is going to come together. Milano's back, I believe. That should help them. Obviously, he's a big leader for them. So, yeah, I just think tough spot for Bo to go into.
I like Denver. I like Denver to cover the number here. It's more to me, we talk about how Bo Nix has been one of the best rookie quarterbacks against the spread in history this past season, and I think it just points to this Denver team continues to get underrated, and at one point, and I don't see it adjusting. I think this thing is closer to like 7.5, and how I am going to play it is Denver plus the points, and then teasing Buffalo from 8.5 to 2.5. That's the way I'm going to play it. So yeah, I it's more to me. I think that everyone wants to just be right on Bo Nix and calling Denver a paper tiger so badly, and it just continues to happen week in and week out. I don't think Denver's gotten the love that they deserve.
It also helps that they're when your rookie quarterback is 30 years old.
Right, right.
That I was going to make that point. So just a couple. I don't think there's a right side for me in this one. I think the line's pretty fair. But one thing that'll lead to one of my picks later is we talk about these rookie quarterbacks. This guy's 23, he's 24. He's got Sean Payton. So I know he hasn't seen NFL playoffs, but he has a little more experience. And that was my handicap on Jaden Daniels coming into the year. He wasn't your traditional rookie. He'd been, he's a super old player. Denver, although not the most appealing run game, 16th in the NFL in rush yards per game. So middle of the pack. It's not the worst, but definitely not going to put it on you. And then the X factor in the game is as simple as this. Denver leads the NFL in sacks with 63, and Buffalo leads the NFL in sacks allowed.
Yeah.
So that's the game. I do think when this matchup came out, like Casey said, Denver's not going to put it on you in the run game, which is Buffalo's weaker side of the ball. And then where do you put Surtain? Like, that's your guy that could turn someone off. That is the absolute last thing the Bills are worried about. Okay, Shakir's down. We're going to Matt Collins. They've made it work all year long. So I just think should be, what the line says. It wouldn't shock me if Buffalo put it on them.
I just comparing it to some other spreads we've seen with Buffalo at home this year, like the Jets. That line opened 9.5. Buffalo laying 9.5 to the Jets, and look, the Jets have been a hard handicap all year, but and then you look back week 1, they host Arizona. That line was came down to 6.5 and continued to get steamed towards the Cardinals' way. Buffalo at home, they hosted Miami when Tua was just coming back. Line was 6. Like, I still, the disrespect for Buffalo, or for Denver rather, to me is.
What was that line against the Jags? I feel like it was 6 and got bet down to 4, and we liked it, and they got absolutely.
But that's the thing. That was week 2. So using a week 1 line, I think is. I get your point, and you obviously referenced some lines later in the season. I think your point is more so on Denver. Denver has been the team that, okay, obviously rookie quarterback, they're underrated. I felt like they were overrated a little bit in the middle of the season because Nix wasn't playing very well. Nix has actually played very well over the last quarter of the season. You normally see that rookie wall hit, and that's why those rookies don't perform well in the playoffs, because they've kind of been solved. There's more tape on them. And then you see like last year, right? CJ Stroud has this great year, comes into Baltimore shuts him down in the playoffs.
Didn't he win his first game though? I think Stroud won his first playoff.
They beat the Browns. So I don't. It's very tricky because honestly, this, and it may be the bubble I'm in, the discourse around Buffalo is wild because the Buffalo fans, Dan Orlovsky, and the world has essentially said Buffalo stinks and it's all Josh Allen, right? So if that's really the case, then yes, Denver getting 8.5, 9.5 where Tim got it makes a lot of sense. If we're acknowledging, well, they might have one of the best O-lines in football, the fact that they have, a bunch of these returning defensive players, they have one of the best slot corners in the NFL. Like, if we really acknowledge this is a good Buffalo team, then it makes more sense. So it's I don't love the side either way, but I think the pick, makes sense if Casey views it going that way.
By the way, I have Buffalo as my highest rated team in my power rankings, and I still like Denver.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a play on
That's
Denver. It's a play on Denver.
No, less about. That's shocking to me that they're your number 1 power rated team.
I think that's less shocking than you think.
No, that's shocking. The market doesn't have that at all.
Yeah, the books have us going into Buffalo as 1.5 point favorites. That's
not true at all. The books have
not?
No. Buffalo's 1.5 in the look ahead, but the Ravens have better Super Bowl odds, and they would have to play in Buffalo, which means at the very least the Ravens are power rated higher than Buffalo by the market.
Okay.
But as we know, everyone's power ratings are slightly different. And
Sure.
Tim does them from Jack does them in his head. They're all a little different.
Go ahead, Tim.
This is just from week 16. I didn't want to take. I may have scrolled past the week 17 and 18, but as of week 16, the composite power rankings that Sam Hoppen puts up, the composite was Buffalo and Baltimore even as the two best teams. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's 600 and 650, so it's obviously marginal.
It's marginal, but remember, the only reason that it's that small of a gap is because Baltimore has to,
of course.
Yeah, it has to go to Buffalo. One last thing, just because Casey mentioned it, and I think it's important in the discourse. He said he was surprised that the Steelers-Ravens spread was larger, and we'll talk about that game in a little, but Buffalo power rated even or slightly worse than Baltimore, and Denver's got to be power rated way higher than Pittsburgh at this point in the season. So that one is not as shocking to me. If you want to talk about how the Ravens play against them and why you want to give out Pittsburgh as a pick, sure. But I think from a just strictly spread standpoint, when the books are obviously they don't factor that stuff in as much, it makes sense. Go ahead, Uppy.
Well, so you think on a neutral that the Steelers would be dogs to the Broncos? Because I don't see that.
Yeah,
I do.
All right. Yeah, I mean,
wait, you don't?
My jersey is my back.
Pittsburgh's.
Pittsburgh's
I feel like you're
absolute shambolinis.
Yeah, like
they're
all right,
reeling, but
Uppy here. Yeah, they're literally reeling. The defense looks atrocious. The offense hasn't scored more than 7.
To start at quarterback.
The only reason why Pittsburgh fans even think they have a chance is because they're playing Baltimore. Like, if flip the two opponents, Pittsburgh's going to Buffalo, Pittsburgh's going to Kansas City, Pittsburgh's going anywhere except Baltimore, where they've had success, where they can just hope the weird shit happens. You'd be like, oh, we have literally no chance. But because
if they were going to Houston, they would be slight favorites.
No.
All
right, speaking of, that's a good transition to my pick. I'm going to be taking the Chargers. I laid the 2.5. I took the money line. I know it's going to be the squarest side of the week. Even my mom actually texted me and was saying, get me down on the Chargers. I just think this is
that's my kind of family
matchup.
Yeah, no, that's a sign.
This is a bad Texans football team right now. They finished the season 31st in early down success rate, only ahead of the Cleveland Browns. They can't throw the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball a ton on this Chargers defense. One of the more key factors, I would say, is the pressure, and Stroud being pressured. 28% of dropbacks, that's second most in the NFL. And then I did see a good note about the defense the Chargers run. They run too high coverage, 60% rate, which is third most in the NFL. Stroud passer rating against too high is 84, which ranks 31st in the NFL. We've also seen Chargers secondary stepping up. I think the biggest concern here is obviously 3 straight road games, but as Tim has noted, and he can bring these exact numbers up, I'm sure, but Harbaugh on the road in his career is absolutely dominant. Herbert in his last 8 road games, 7-1 ATS. They just beat inferior opponents on the road pretty handily, and I see that being the case again.
Uppy, sorry. I thought you were done. You want to continue?
No, I had just one more note, and
Yeah.
it's probably, a counterpoint to if you like the Texans, is obviously their pass rush, Hunter and Anderson, 2 of the best in the league. I think they were first in pass rush success rate, but on the other side, you have Alton, Slater. I'm not just trying to name dudes, but 2 of the better tackles in the NFL. So hopefully they're not going to shut them down, obviously, but a good counter, a nice strength on strength. I think you're getting the better coach, the better quarterback, and just the better overall team.
I like it. I just have 2 questions. One, I think the key is if Stroud's protected, or not, and I just didn't hear you. Like, you talked about how much pressure he takes, but not how I'm curious how the Chargers pass rush is. So I don't know if you have that stat. And then second, just flight time from LA to Houston.
Wait, you can't name that's like right up your alley, Case. Name the pass rushers for LA.
No, I know who they are. I don't know how much success they've had this year.
No, that doesn't matter. You just got to be able to name Bosa and Mack, and you assume that they're good pass rushers.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Hunter and Anderson are good names, and they've actually been great.
Yeah.
I don't know how Mack.
Yeah, they've been like first in the NFL. I don't think you have to know. You just know Bosa and Mack are names that everyone knows, and you just say those guys are dogs. Like they're gonna get after it.
Right. I was just looking for a little more.
Yeah. Flight time. Flight time.
Flight time's probably like an hour 20.
Oh my god!
No.
What is
Once again,
understanding of a map?
Texas is like in the middle of the country and deep down south. LA is on the West Coast.
Oh, we're talking like way more, like 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought it was shorter?
In my brain, Texas borders California. It's right there.
Yo, you need
it does.
All right. Well, what
no,
it
doesn't.
Doing?
No, it doesn't.
There's like 3 states.
So, Tim, in your early lines, or maybe in Guess the Line, your analysis on this was you liked Chargers money line, but you do make the spread pretty close here.
Yeah, and look, the Chargers. Everyone's saying that Houston is not a good football team. The Chargers are better football. I think that's baked in. They're a 3-point home dog in the playoffs. If you remember a month or two ago, Houston hosted the Detroit Lions, and they're 4-point home dogs. So the Chargers are getting their respect, right? And I'm avoiding the number here because I think there's a high probability that this thing lands within 3. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Uppy, everything you said about, Houston's defense is good. Everything you said about the Chargers defense being a bad matchup for Stroud, I think that all works. I'm just going to try and pick the damn game. And to me, that's where I get the Chargers here. I think, like, if there's Chargers love right before kick, and it's like maybe you could get a rogue Houston +3 -105. I would take a little bit of that to complement my Chargers money line. I think the point you made about the 3 road games, it's not a great trend, especially if you're playing in the playoffs. But like Uppy, again, you said it. My counter is, look, this is Harbaugh, and give me a Belichick, Harbaugh, other Harbaugh, do it in this situation. That's kind of a guy I trust to get his team up.
What was that Harbaugh trend that we referenced earlier in the season? Is this the same spot? It's him as a short road dog, or like where he was like some ridiculous record?
It was him as a short road favorite, and then just on the road in general, he's really good ATS. But as a road favorite under 6, I forget what it was, but it was like 70%, something.
Yeah,
something wild. Was that one against the Patriots, and they absolutely dogged them? Obviously, completely different teams, but he's good on the road, and I think that makes sense. Dude's a consummate professional. He's got his khakis pressed. He's fucking ready. Business trip, all that bullshit mantra. He
and you said your mother is on LA here?
It's a figure of speech, but yeah, Mama Uppy's lock of the year was Chargers.
All right, Mama Uppy's first lock of the year.
Lining it -6. So she's very confident.
Wow. Okay. Tim, do you have a top pick for wildcard weekend?
You're muted? I don't think you're muted.
I was muted. Because I was ruffling.
Yeah,
papers.
you can.
Yeah. No, I don't have a pick. No, just kidding. I do have a pick. I am going with my favorite team in the NFL, Green Bay Packers +4.5 at the Philadelphia Eagles. I've said it before. Just flashback to the Seattle handicap with Green Bay. This team profiles as good of a road team as you could possibly have. Their defense, super underrated. Look, the Love situation, Watson, it's not great, but I have these two teams far closer than what this spread indicates. I also love, this is my favorite little trend in here that you might not think about. So The Packers were, help me out here. But you could, you'll fast forward this nonsense. Here it is. Okay. Packers have lost 2 consecutive games, both straight up and ATS entering this matchup. Teams doing that entering a playoff game since 2012, 6-1 ATS.
Wow.
This is an opportunity to buy a little bit low, a little bit deceiving. Packers plus 4.5.
Is anyone concerned about Hurts?
Wait, no, he's good. He's good. It's the you have to, the way the concussion protocol works. You know how dialed in I am to the Philly news, but the way protocol works, you have to practice and then get cleared the next day to be fully cleared technically.
Well, not
so
I wasn't worried about him being cleared.
Yeah,
just
like the
time
aspect.
off and the limited
Oh,
practice.
you want to talk rest versus rust? Oh, I'll pull up a chair to that conversation. I mean, I can jam on that all day, but I want to spin zone Tim real quick here. I also lean Green Bay, but I want to say I feel like it might be a little priced in. I know you make these teams closer than 4.5, but you don't think this line should be sitting closer to like 6? You think about, like you said, the two, not that it should be sitting closer to 6. Sorry. Are you surprised that it was only at 4.5? Like, it opened 3, right? So it's gotten bet in that direction. That wasn't surprising at all. But I don't know. I feel like Green Bay lost twice. Nothing's clicked for them. They haven't beaten one of these contenders all year. Philly, super hot. Like, I feel like this is a round where, like, do you make this game 3?
I make this game on a neutral. I make this game 2.
Right. Okay.
And so you're taking into account, I said Philly, top home field
Have
advantage.
you won or lost
play.
more money on Green Bay this year?
I've been good on Green Bay.
Okay. No, I was curious. I make this a Kellen Moore game. I think if he overthinks it, tries to do too much on the offensive side of the ball, they'll lose. If he leans on Saquon, gets quick hitters for Hurts, the A.J. Brown slant that seems kind of unguardable with no Jair, it just feels like if he doesn't overthink it, they win easily for me.
This is what makes the playoffs so fun, because this is one of those cliche games where the 2020 vision on it becomes so clear. And I felt that way about Ohio State, Oregon. I was all in on Ohio State right before the game. I say to Casey, I'm like, I think maybe we look back on this and we just recognize that Oregon was the best team all year. 3 hours later, or really a quarter later, you knew that Ohio State was obviously the better team. There's so many, like I tweeted this yesterday, Jalen Hurts, most interesting playoff resume of them all. He's got one of the best performances in NFL history in the Super Bowl. He's looked absolutely atrocious in 2 playoff games. He's beaten Daniel Jones and Christian McCaffrey. He's lost to Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Last year, they were a shell of themselves going into the game against Tampa. Like, it's just been all over the place. He hasn't played in a month. That's very real. And then you look at the Packers, and it's like, Tim, you power rate them really high. I'm with you. But they haven't gotten it done literally all season. So if they get it done, we look back and we're like, all right, they put it together. Or we look back and we're like, yeah, they just weren't that team. They had the potential. So you're not insane for thinking it, but you lose Watson. I think they are one of those teams who can kind of suffer that loss because they're spread out, but you lose Watson. Jair Alexander's out. I actually think that's not spoken about. That's a huge piece that they expected to get.
He's been out all year.
He's been out. But that was kind of baked into, okay, they're going to round into form. This is why they lost that close game to Detroit. This is why and they're not getting him back. I don't worry as much about the Love thing. And then on Philly's side, Publix loved them because they're cover machines. They run people out the building. I haven't been that high on them all year because it's the classic. I comp them to that Ravens 2019 team. Elite offensive line, elite defense, played from ahead all season. Ravens went down 10-0, and it went, uh-oh, and it was just full panic. I don't think that the Philly will panic as much because they do have the weapons on the outside. Ravens had, they could not throw that season. Philly can throw a little more, but yeah, rest versus rust is very real. So once again, I think I agree with you. I thought 3 as the opener made sense. So you're getting a 1.5, but I just don't.
I wanted to
I'm
hit that so badly. I just let it go. I saw it and I was like, "This. I feel like this isn't going to stay."
I was going to add one more thing to this. One of the strongest trends, and it's hard to because different models use different rankings for strength of schedule, has been for wild card weekend that the disparities in strength of schedule, the team that has played the tougher schedule has had more success, ATS, straight up, all that sort of stuff. This is a big disparity. Okay, just using PFF here. Green Bay has played the 11th most difficult schedule. Meanwhile, Philadelphia, 30th most difficult schedule. So I really think Green Bay, too, being in that division has been, and it's a division that has been the strongest division playing the rest of the league this season as well. So again, and as
What
much
is-
as
sorry, what is the assumption is in the play, if you made the playoffs, you probably win some of those tough games because you need to win games to get into the playoffs. So how much they went 1-5 in that division, right? Like, it's weird to use that when they just had such little success. When my assumption would be for playoff teams using that stat, they at least had some success because you got to win a certain amount of games to get into the dance to begin with.
that's why I think this matchup is so interesting, right? Like Philly played the easy schedule, but they cleared everyone out. And then Green Bay played the difficult schedule, but they lost those games against playoff teams. So you can take it however you want. They're battle tested. They know what they need to do to get over the hump. Or you can frame it as they just don't have enough. It's just tricky. That's why, there's no guarantees in gambling besides my winner that I have. That's locked in, actually.
But this is like, to me, this is almost like a baseball analogy to this, right? The sample sizes are really small, right?
Right.
We only have 17 games to use for these teams. But when you talk about, okay, yeah, they didn't play great against their division. Okay, let's just go through it. Lost to the Vikings by 2. Lost to the Lions by 10, but it was the Love interception that we all know was really, the difference maker. Again, lose to the Vikings by 2, lose to at Detroit by 3. Like, those two teams who we hold in high regard, Lions in Minnesota, on aggregate, has there been a team that has played them closer? Like, I don't know. And they had to play those teams they got 4 times with those teams.
Tricky game week 1. Not sure if you put any stock into it, a matchup that happened so long ago, but close game in Brazil, obviously international game. Field was a mess. Philly turns the ball over 3 times on their own half of the field. They still end up winning the game. Saquon scores 3 touchdowns. So I feel like no, but do you take anything into account for a matchup, which, by the way, Ravens Houston last year was also a week 1 into playoff matchup. Don't think there was a ton to take from that.
Are they playing this game on that outrageous field down there?
They're not. They're not. So if you make this
Commanders week 1 to playoffs, like, would you put any stock into that? Because I would not.
I would not. Which is a great transition.
Well, you had a question.
I did. I was going to ask, you make this game 2 on a neutral. How much do you give Philly, which is my number 1 home field advantage? Now, number 1 caveat, I think it affects certain teams more. I don't think it will impact a Green Bay team who plays in Lambeau, is from there. More so the fact that Love went on the road. He went to, he played in 2 pretty, big environments last year, not outdoors cold, but Toyotathon did end, which is unfortunate.
If I was the bookmaker, I would have had this game at 3.5, and I would be teetering it, like doing the whole charade back and forth of the, like, minus 125 vig, and then so I would be playing that pinball matchup. But I think the Love kind of thing, I don't question pushing it to maybe 4 for that whole charade. But I think, again, I really like how Green Bay profiles as a road team. This isn't some Mickey Mouse dome team going to Philadelphia. They play in the toughest division in football, and I'm still waiting. Like, Philly still, like, Jalen Hurts, like, this offense, it's a lot of things have to go right for them to, like, really get it going. And it starts with Barkley. So
one last
Okay.
note on that front, on the Hurts front, I saw the Packers play zone defense at the second highest rate, and that Hurts is 33rd out of 40 qualified quarterbacks against the zone. So
I like
Tush-Push
that.
Merchant might be in a bit.
No,
Love
it's
that.
more a wide receiver merchant where
Yeah.
Smitty and AJ Brown are creating the amount of separation they do against man coverage.
carve up,
That's
man.
All right. My selection for Wild Card Weekend. I have two, but I'm gonna just give you one. I'm just give
This
you
guy has
one.
never come with just this is my pick, this is why, and I'm out. It's always
Okay.
two picks with you.
Because I just love both. I really do.
And you also had the worst record on the show.
Tim and I shared the worst record on the show, I believe.
7-10-1 versus 6-11.
No, I got to 7 dubs.
Jack 7 wins, Tim 7 wins. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So suck it. Anyways, I'm going to go with the Commanders +3 as my favorite pick for Super Wild Card Weekend. Here is my handicap. I actually was pretty in tune with the Commanders this season because I had a ton of action on Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, financial incentive. So I tracked them pretty well. When Jaden Daniels suffered a rib injury, it was around week 7. And then they went and played that ridiculous game in Philly where they legitimately quit with like 10 minutes left on the clock. Short week, Thursday Night Football. From that moment on, it was about 4 or 5 weeks where people were like, okay, it seems like Daniels has really hit the rookie wall. I don't think the public takes into account injuries because in the NFL and on your fantasy teams, there is O, D, Q. I don't even think they use P anymore, or nothing, right? So there's out, doubtful, questionable, probable, and then a player playing. What these people don't understand is that just because a player plays does not mean they are playing at 100%. When Daniels healed, he then came back and went on an absolute heater. There are legitimate points that could be made. He has no chance to win the award, but I think he could be in the MVP conversation if we just did this bullshit like most valuable player. They were projected to be absolutely atrocious this season, and he has carried this team. Brian Robinson's been out for weeks at a time. Austin Eckler just missed weeks at a time. Their defense has seriously improved over the second half of the season. This kid, Saren still from Michigan, rookie, he is legitimately what is it? Yeah, I know I can never pronounce his name. What is Sainstro? He came in and yes, what can one player change a defense? After what I saw in Baltimore, I would honestly argue when it is as bad as Benjamin St-Juste being removed from the starting lineup and replacing him, not like you're going from the worst corner in the league to, someone who's off the P squad and is better. Like this is now a good corner and it's really packed up the back end. They have the interior defensive line with Allen and they've been really solid as well. So I think this Commanders team is underrated. Then you've got the rookie quarterback thing, which we discussed earlier in the show. I don't think Daniels needs to take as much of a hit on this as we would with a typical rookie quarterback, given his age and his experience. Now you flip it to the Bucs side. Why are people in love with this Tampa Bay team? It's a little interesting to me. They scrape into the playoffs. They play in the absolute dumpster of the NFC South. Their defense, I will say, has obviously improved over the second half of the season. Missing Chris Godwin, they've now replaced him with McMillan. Bucky Irvin's been amazing. So they've also improved over the course of the season. I don't really see an argument where the Bucs are the better team here. I think they are even teams to me. If they were to play on a neutral field, I would just say, okay, roll the ball out. Like these are two even teams. So you're telling me the Bucs are getting 3 points for home field here? I don't make the Bucs 2-point favorites in this game. On top of the fact, what about did we just forget that Tampa's coach is horrific? He is one of the worst in-game management coaches in the NFL. I'm not saying Dan Quinn is anything to call home about, but you've got a slight edge in that department as well. I think what you're seeing is people like the Bucs. I genuinely think they associate that defense with the same defense that won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay because they still have Vita Vea, they still have Winfield. Like, you still get that association. It's not the same team. It's actually far from it. And people are forgetting they were trailing the fucking Saints with 3 minutes to play just a week ago. And I don't know if that's because Washington looked bad against Dallas in the first half, that people got off Washington. But talk about like an inexperienced team looking ahead. They did not need to win that game. They pulled their starters for the second half. Jaden Daniels, if you remove, and I know this can be a tricky situation, but if you remove those 5 weeks when he was injured, top 5 offense all time in points per drive. Like, we're not talking about, oh, he had a good rookie season. We're talking about one of these all-time seasons. Dual threat quarterback. I like the Bucs +3. They're getting points in a game I don't think they should.
Commanders
There
plus
he goes.
three. Commanders
Yeah,
plus 3.
You just pulled a
Commanders.
crazy Pat McAfee.
Commanders +3. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm with you. I actually love the Commanders +3, but I do have to note that this Bucs offense has been absolutely historic. I know you were saying, like, why do people like the Bucs? They're one of the best offenses we've seen as of late. I saw a good nugget. This is from Mike Sando of The Athletic.
We didn't get one EA stat.
These were all
I got
EA.
it,
all
EA.
day.
Yeah,
Okay, just making sure. Let's
Yeah,
cite
it's
our
baked
sources
in.
next time,
if
please.
it's not
baked.
cited, it's EA. He's
Okay,
the
fair
fifth
enough,
member
fair
of the
enough.
show.
It's under
This
the
is
assumption.
Mike Sando of The Athletic. Bucs have the only offense since 2000 to meet or exceed the following metrics: 28 points per game, 6 yards per play, 65% red zone touchdown rate, 50% third down conversion. So this is a really fucking good Bucs offense, which I am super high on. But on the other side of the ball, Bucs defense, not very good. 23rd in DVOA against the pass. And you mentioned the rookie corner. I'm not going to butcher his name, the dude from Michigan, being great. But on the other side, Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, we've seen this. He was a full participant in practice yesterday. Him versus Mike Evans is some of the best battles you will see on the football field. It's reminiscent of the Andre Johnson versus, was it Cortland Finnegan, where he would just beat the shit out of him every time they play. Like, we'll see something like that. So if
Kids
you can
these
have
days
Lattimore,
don't know that matchup.
nah, they don't know ball. Look that up. I might insert a clip of those two. Scrapping here.
Also, no one touching on the fact of, like, the Bucs playing with karma, the NFL gods, whatever you want to call it, by putting their playoff lines.
Oh, well, I think the fucking softest, lamest team of all time. Let me be clear. I respect the shit out of getting Mike Evans $3 million. And I think it's cool that they did that for him. But that is batshit insane. That's a team that does not have Super Bowl aspirations. I'm not going to get on here.
Slips off of Mike Evans' fingertips. That could be 6 going the other way.
It could be a pick
they wanted
6.
to run a play that got him open, and he was open. But that doesn't make it a surefire catch and completion.
I'm not like a NFL gods karma thing. If there was a god, I guarantee you that fucking Patrick Mahomes wouldn't win the fucking Super Bowl every year, but he seems to.
If this was actually going to be one of my big parts on the Steelers. If there is a God and if Jesus is the true, I lean towards no. I don't think that's the case. But if that was the case, the Steelers are winning outright. Fucking Russell Wilson is going to Pittsburgh Children's Hospital during his Christmas break. I mean, if anyone has God on their side, it would be Russell Wilson.
I'm not 100% sure this text conversation is true, but he's texting Jersey Jerry.
That was not Russie. That was not real, Casey. You can change someone's
name
in your notebook, but that was a funny bit.
The actual last piece that I wasn't even thinking about Lattimore Evans, which it is probably the public narrative for this game, but the one that actually makes a difference on the football field, Baker Mayfield led the league in interceptions, I believe, tied with Kirk Cousins. Jaden Daniels, pretty good job of taking care of the ball this season. That could flip a playoff game. We know turnovers win and lose games. So yes, the Bucs offense has been explosive, but it's in volumes. They're getting a lot of plays. They're throwing Evans. Like, it just feels like Yeah, I just make this game a pick 'em on a neutral. So I think I'm getting a 1.5. I don't know why I'm getting a full field goal here.
One last note on the Bucks defense is that they run cover 3 at the highest rate in the NFL. Jaden Daniels against cover 3, second in DVOA. We're getting in the schematics here, folks. And
Let's go, Uppy.
Uppy, you've been elite today.
Uppy, best performance
yeah.
this season.
Uppy came fucking dialed in for the playoffs. Never a fucking doubt.
Go fucking 1-7, and
you just need less games to handicap. That's your thing.
Yeah, you just need to be dialed 100%.
Yeah. No, you're dialed.
Like championship weekend with 2 games, I cannot wait for the performance that you're going to put forth.
Can I pitch my second pick just for for the audience? For the audience.
Make it
what is the total on Ravens Steelers?
Hang tight. Total is 43.5.
Oh, I hate that. But I do like the under. That was going to be my other pick.
You and every other person on living.
But here's the as great as the Ravens offense has been this season. Lamar Jackson averages 16 points per game in the playoffs, the lowest in NFL history. It's a fact at this point. Then
he said he's going to chill out though.
He did say, "I'll chill, fam." Then you've got Zay Flowers out. I think that's going to make a huge impact on the Ravens offense.
People aren't putting enough into that.
Yeah. So you've got that. So even if you think, okay, they're not going to put up 16, then you flip it on the other side. We know the Ravens offense ranks number 1 in every single statistic since that Pittsburgh game when they made that change. Pittsburgh hasn't totaled over 17 points in the last 3. They're reeling. They're thinking about they're thinking about going to Justin Fields. I just think Ravens run the ball, try to get to Buffalo, and this is just a low-scoring, shitty game. And that's why I don't hate 9.5 points, because what if it's 17 to 10? What if
that was going to be my question. If you like the under, then you have to like the Steelers to cover.
Actually, I don't. I don't.
You are threading a needle of some sort.
No, I could see this 30 to 10.
That's quite the thread of the needle.
I could see this. I could see this 24 to 10. I think that's
very close to the spread. At that number, then the back door is always open. It just.
What do you mean? I don't give a fuck about a back door. I
think the 10 is too much. But they could easily get blown out.
It's a needle. Points. It's not the
it's not as tight as you think. It's not as tight as you think. Yeah, it's not as tight as you think. I've bet these spots before. I like it tight. I like it right. So that would be my additional pick is the under. Did we cover all the games? I think we're probably missing Rams, Vikings.
And I did see there is a contingency if they have to move the game. It's to Arizona, so that would be,
that would be, how long would that flight be, Uppy?
That's about an hour.
Yeah. That's elite flight knowledge.
Yeah, it's the only game we didn't touch, actually. That worked out really well. Does anyone have a Monday night pick? Should we do a consensus?
Rams.
You like the Rams?
I don't know, Jim. I'm kind of back on the Darnold train. I do have an MVP ticket. So.
Tim?
The thing is, if this thing gets moved to Arizona.
Right.
That's a possibility. So I believe if they move this, your bet will void and you got to bet again. So
it's down to 1.
Darnold was seeing ghosts against Lions, and that kind of turns me off. He could go see in the playoffs,
but that's the whole world. The whole world watched that game, so that's baked in, and you're benefiting from.
I don't know if I have the confidence with Verse and the pass rush that they have.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is that the Lions have 0 rush, and they made him look horrendous.
Yes.
How about this? Let me give you a quick number here. I'm gonna just read them out. 21 versus the Saints, 12 against the Niners, 19 against the Jets, 13 against the Cardinals. And then you got the Buffalo 44 sandwich in between those 5 games. No one's slightly concerned about the Rams offense. They
People
really
just think
stumbled.
Stafford, Puka, Cup, like just snap of the fingers.
But they're
playoff
facing the
season.
best defense in the NFL.
No. I'm
whatever,
not
top.
under that assumption. I'm just saying that's what people believe.
I actually lean towards the under in this game.
Yeah, I like it.
And
Everyone's gonna want the dome and the weapons and everything.
And one interesting thing from our guy EA, this is the stuff that I just love. This is you could just, I want to just wrap this all around myself. So the Vikings last week, right? Their offense didn't play well against the Lions. Since 2003, teams to average 25 or more points per game on the season, coming off a game where they scored 14 or fewer. Now they're going to go play in the playoffs. They are just 2-9 ATS, failing to cover the spread by 9.4 points per game. So
Wait, so they suck. So they were clown show organization the whole year. Wow. I call them cuties from the start. So that makes me feel good. I know this. Okay. Is it crazy to say, like, what if, how many points did Darnold missing Jefferson a couple times in the red zone cost this spread? Like, if they beat Detroit, which, by the way, for everyone who bet on the game, if Darnold's half competent, I genuinely think I don't know if they win, but they're in that game. I mean, they should. I felt insane watching the game. So let's say they won. Obviously, they wouldn't be going on the road. They'd be the 1 seed. But let's say they won that game. What do they lay in LA? 5, 6, 4?
maybe 3. Well,
That's it.
Well, let's look, right? So LA this year.
I think the look ahead was 3. But that was the look ahead was 3, and that was off a loss. I'm saying in this scenario where they actually won that game.
Let me tell you.
They're what, 15-2, 14-3?
Well, let me tell you a story here. So
yeah, please do.
The Rams hosted the Buffalo Bills. Line was 3.5. The Rams hosted the Philadelphia Eagles. The line was 2.5. So
yeah, where do you have many? That's it. No, that's a good question. So where do you? Yeah,
I have them
versus Buffalo and Philly, just so I can kind of see that.
I have Minnesota. I have both Buffalo and Philly ahead of them. I have Minnesota 5.
Yeah. So it cost them. So that's the question. Did one bad game from Sam Darnold, it cost them at least a point. And I get why that would be the case. Now there's, you're just questioning yourself with Darnold. What about when they played there earlier this season? Short week. Weren't they 3.5 in that spot?
That line was, I believe that line was 3. 3. Open 3, closed 2.5.
Okay, so do you think, and remember, that short week, long flight, right? Uppy, Minnesota to LA.
And average jet too.
Average jet. What do you make of the line then? Like, if that was 3, 2.5, like it's moved 1.5, you think that gap is closed that much?
I think that it's the things that are harder to quantify. The fact that Vikings, get up for essentially a Super Bowl game against Detroit. They're playing for a bye, and now you have to recalibrate, get this thing going. You got to fly cross country. I also think, I think that letdown is worth about a half point or so. And I just,
but wouldn't you put a half point on short week on the road?
It's the same. They're playing Monday.
No. I'm saying on the Thursday night game, like.
On that
just an eye for an eye. Like, if you're saying, okay, it was 3, it probably is 3.5 if they play that game on a Sunday, or
I think 2.5 would be a fair number for this game if you're talking about all the things that you conjured up, Jack. That's still a lot of love. They, like I said, we compared it to the Bills and Philly going there. Yeah, that's kind of on par.
But I'm saying it's 1. That's a big move.
I think it's. I have a really hard feel for what to make of Minnesota. I have a really hard feel.
That's kind of just my point, which is one game has moved this line. I say 1.5. You may say 1 point. And I'm not questioning that. I just think if this is a classic spot of, all right, look him in the face and make your prediction. Is Sam Darnold what we saw for the first 17 weeks, or is he what we saw in week 18?
I'll say this. Going into week 18, I would have made this 3 on I would have made this 3.5 on a neutral.
And I know you're not giving the Rams much on home field here.
Right.
In a dome. Right. So that's kind of my point is we really moved Darnold. As someone who loves a good look ahead, I'm not surprised, but I think you know what I'm saying here, which is we made a large movement on Darnold based on one game.
And a team coming off playing the Lions.
It's a fair point too. That is a fair point too. Okay. All right. Bonus picks before we dip. Texas 6. What? Ohio State 6. Where's everyone?
Yeah,
Ohio
Texas plus
State
6,
and
but
Penn State.
the hammer dong is Packers, Eagles, first half under. Absolutely love it.
Did that come
No, that's good. Both teams have started insanely slow.
Both quarterbacks a little injured, rusty, whatever. Go Steelers.
I actually don't hate Texas spread.
I have them 6.5. That's just
I don't hate Texas spread, but I like Penn State tonight a lot.
Remember what we said if that game touched 7? I mean, it was never, but that would have been funny. All right, last thing. Apologies.
No, an actual hammer piece. Ohio State money line, Ravens money line for everything you got.
Okay, but that's a great segue into what I want the last thing to be. If you lay Baltimore, Buffalo, and Philly money line, it pays plus 110. It's going to be the public's favorite thing to do this weekend. Which one loses?
Say it again.
Buffalo, Baltimore, Philly money lines pays plus 110. It's going to be the public parlay of the weekend.
Philly
Which
loses.
one loses?
Philly.
Yeah, they have to.
Books
are getting their lick back. Yeah, it's probably going to hit.
That's the perfect way to sum up on this show.
I have one bonus pick. McMillan in the Tampa Bay Washington Commanders game. Most receiving yards in the game, plus 500.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like that. Actually, I like that at the
You don't like that because that's Saints Stroh's matchup.
No, but no one travels.
Can't do the whole Saints Stroh thing and then do that.
Well, it's a play it's a play on Evans.
Yeah, it's Evans, Lattimore, and McLaurin down.
Bucks trailing, so they're going to be throwing a lot more.
Yeah. Yep. All right, great show.
Hammer it.
Do we need an
Josh
underdog?
Allen rush yards and touchdown is also a hammer.
Do we need an underdog?
No, but make sure you guys head to the Underdog app. We're going to have some boosted packs for you this weekend. Use the code Snapback. They'll be shown exclusively to you in the app. And it's going to be a little fade of the intern. So hook 'em horns. Go Ravens. Fuck you, Uppy. You ugly motherfucker. Fuck the Steelers. You flight not knowing bitch. Hook 'em. Casey, you short fuck. You Ohio State was my safety school. Tim, I love you. And let's have a weekend, boys.
The eyes of Texas
are upon